respect to Iran, three of these so-called leading Democrats are putting our party and our nation in the same risk that we were put in back in 2002. It's time to get the facts, lay them out, and to end. It's time for these candidates to take their responsibility, to find the truth, and not just repeat what someone else is telling them. Okay, snap quiz. In a word, why did we go to Iraq? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Oh, now I can hear you. You know, this past week, I stood on the floor of the House of Representatives with a rare opportunity to speak for 1 hour. And when I did, I had the chance to do the research, and I saw that the Bush administration, prior to the invasion of Iraq, was meeting with oil companies and energy companies, discussing how Iraq's oil could be accessed and used. This war, which turned out not to have anything to do with weapons of mass destruction. That was the first reason we were told. Then we were told Iraq and 9/11, nothing. Then we were told Iraq and Al-Qaeda's role in 9/11, not. And they kept changing the reasons. Now we finally see in the legislation that this administration drafted and promoted to Congress, here's how it reads. We are requiring the Iraqi government at this point to pass a law called the Hydrocarbon Act. It almost sounds like it's an environmental act. But to pass a law called the Hydrocarbon Act. And that Hydrocarbon Act is 3 lines about, vaguely written lines about sharing of revenue, and 33 pages of a complex restructuring of the Iraqi oil industry from the public control, which it has now, to putting 80% of that control in the hands of multinational oil companies. Now this law, this provision for privatization, was drafted by an American company by the name of Bearing Point, at the behest of people in the administration working with the multinational oil companies. What's the significance here? Well, let me spell it out to you in money terms. Iraq has as much as 300 billion barrels of oil. The market value of oil right now is about $65 a barrel, going to $70 a barrel. This means that Iraq at this moment is sitting on as much as $21 trillion worth of oil. Here we are in the United States at this moment, on a Memorial Day weekend, where the gas companies, the oil companies, are driving the cost of oil through the roof. They're deliberately suppressing refining capacity. They're driving the price up. And now these same oil interests want to use the U.S. government, which is standing by while the oil companies gouging the American people. They want to use the U.S. government to take the oil that belongs to the people of Iraq. And they're also threatening, the same group in the White House is threatening to invade Iran, which has a supply of oil that could be equal to what Iraq has. You and I know that America must take a new direction in its energy policy. We understand that. Move away from reliance on oil. Let's talk about our own Hydrocarbon Act here, huh? But we also need to meet this challenge of global warming on one hand and global warming on the other, because the two are directly connected. is the issue that people in Washington try to ignore. This is the issue which we must unite here in Florida and around this country to regain our government. Because when you see the blood that's being spilled for oil right now, when you see 3,400 U.S. troops put their lives on the line, and we dearly respect them for their courage and for their commitment to this country. When you see 1 million Iraqi civilians die as a result of this war, when you see $800 billion in U.S. tax dollars by 2008 going to support this war, as much as $1 to $2 trillion, according to Nobel Prize-winning economists, would be the cost of this war. When you see $21 trillion worth of oil in Iraq, we cannot let this happen to our nation. We cannot let our nation be taken over by this oil syndicate, by this criminal enterprise operating as a government. We must reclaim our nation. We must reclaim our nation. We must reclaim our nation. Reclaim what is good in America. This is not just about my candidacy. This is about the intention of each person in this room, the quality of heart each one of us has. It's about our vision and our intelligence and our spiritual principles, that when we connect and we unite around those, we will have such power to restore this country to goodness, to make it possible for the world to fall in love with America all over again for those principles that we hold dear.